If you own a PS5 or PS5 Pro, you want a very powerful and sophisticated graphic computer. The worst mistake you can make is to invest your money in a TV that would cripple all that power and turn it into this laggy, eye-disturbing mess of an experience. This video would save you a lot of pain by picking out the most compatible TVs across different budgets, considering refresh rate and frame rate, pixel response time, input lag, VRR, and eye fatigue. Here's what they do. While refresh rate determines how the TV can match the high frame rates coming from the PS5, which in turn helps save your eyes a lot of graphical mess. Pixel response time refers to how fast a TV can switch its pixels on and off according to the fast charging graphics coming out of the PS5. Failure in this aspect is responsible for the blur that you see when playing a fast game like racing. Input lag refers to the time delay between you pressing a key on the gamepad and when the TV responds to it. Failure here is also a nightmare. VRR helps the TV adjust its refresh rate according to the changing frame rate of the PS5. Eye fatigue is what you experience as your TV slowly burns out your retina, leaving you with a dull headache because the blue subpixel in the display panel was not tuned for close range viewing. Pain, and more pain. There are other things we've also considered like HDMI bandwidth rate, but that doesn't concern you because we've done all the work, so let's dive in. On a $250 budget, what you cannot get out of the PS5 is 4K gaming at a reasonable 120Hz refresh rate. But aside that, the QD6QF from Hisense can serve. That's because it can still do 4K at 60Hz and 1440p at 120Hz refresh rate. There are certain high-end games you can't play smoothly without tuning down the frame rate. However, the brightness on this TV is controlled. There's also VRR and Dolby Vision. There are other TVs you can also explore for non-4K and 4K at 60Hz refresh rate, like Hisense A6N and TCL P635, but they both lack quantum dots and fall behind the QD6QF from Hisense. The QD6QF also features HDMI 2.1, which has a bandwidth of 18GB per second, just enough to push out any 4K graphics at 60Hz. On the downside, the screen is very reflective and black levels are low, so HDR games won't give you that much depth. If you own a PS5 Pro though, this TV would be a big limitation, so just skip it. The 43-inch version costs just $223 and price goes all the way up to $1,498 for the 100-inch version. At a $500 budget, what you can finally get is a 4K at 120Hz gaming experience. However, this TV exceeds this expectation with a HDMI 2.1 bandwidth, and that TV is TCL's QM6K. It has two HDMI 2.1 ports, so you can swap between two high-end game consoles. HDMI 2.1 can push out up to 48GB worth of graphics and sound every second, enabling this TV to go beyond PS5's 4K at 120Hz limitations, up to 144Hz with full VRR support. The QM6K competes with more expensive TVs in terms of gaming performance. It can even play HD games at a whopping 288Hz. Also, the pixels on the QM6K switches fast, not as fast as the more expensive OLED TVs, but fast enough to take care of any blurring in fast-moving games. And that's why it's top on the list for this price. You can also enjoy Dolby Vision gaming. The QM8 also has local dimming and quantum dots, which helps give more color depth to the game scenario. The TV is also not too bright, which is a good thing if you game for long hours, provided the room is not flooded with window light. I also need to mention that this TV can future-proof you in case a PS6 or a PS7 shows up. You can get the 55-inch model for $484 up to 98-inch model for $1,998. At a $650 budget, you can upgrade to the QM7K, which is everything the QM6K is plus extra brightness if you have a bright room, wider viewing angle, which might not be too useful when gaming, but comes in handy when you need to watch sports with lots of friends. It also features TCL HVA display as opposed to the popular VA panel display. The advantage of this display is not just the wide angle, but a low input lag compared to the QM6K. It also has deeper black levels for better depth in graphical quality. The QM7 also has a very fast response time, and the pixels on this display switches almost as fast as OLED. That means no blurs even in fast racing games. This is a great TV for the PS5. If you have a PS5 Pro though, you need something more to get the full potential. The QM7K cost about $613 for the 55-inch, up to $2,500 for the 98-inch, and the whopping $11,998 for the 115-inch. At a $1,000 budget, you can get the LG B5. This is simply the best TV we've mentioned so far, mostly because it's OLED. OLED has the fastest pixel response time. That's why you can hardly experience a blurry image transition when gaming on an OLED TV. This is also the best OLED TV you can get at this price point, with the best PS5 performance. Just behind the QD OLED TVs from Samsung. The image quality is perfect for most gaming scenarios with deep blacks and high contrast levels, which take advantage of features like ray tracing already available on the PS5 Pro. The brightness level is not that much, and that's a good thing for those who game for long periods of time. The B5 has a WOLED panel, which includes an additional white subpixel, making this the most eye-friendly TV on the list, as it doesn't need to turn on the blue pixel to produce white. Most other TVs, including the more expensive QD OLEDs, have to turn on all three subpixels to produce white. The problem with this is that the blue light from the blue subpixel in the white attack the retina of the eyes and is responsible for the horrible aching feeling you get in your eyes and your head after gaming for a long period of time. You can activate eye care mode to tune down the blue subpixel, but that would make the TV graphics appear kind of brownish, as it now has to combine more of red and green to produce colors. You can also decide to use blue light protection glasses, but you'd run into a similar problem. The B5, however, saves you the stress. So if you normally encounter eye strain when gaming for long periods, you should buy this TV, or the LG C4 and G4 OLEDs from 2024 if you want flagship features, as opposed to the QD OLEDs we're about to recommend for the higher budgets. Also, if your house is extremely bright, you might need a brighter TV than this. The B5 also does very well with the HDR games. It has 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, which can enable you swap between 4 PS5 grade game consoles, each one capable of 4K at 120Hz, along with VRR, taking full advantage of the power in both the PS5 and the PS5 Pro. It also has one of the lowest input lag you can find. At $1,500 budget, there are two TVs that are best for gaming on the PS5, both offering everything the LG B5 offers with some extra brightness and picture processing capabilities. That's the LG C5 OLED and the Samsung S90F. While the C5 is more eye-friendly, featuring a more advanced and brighter WOLED panel, the S90F features a QD OLED panel with a better, more colorful graphic. Both TVs are unbeatable when it comes to PS5 and PS5 Pro gaming. Both TVs are capable of 4K at 144Hz refresh rate on HDMI 2.1 ports. Nevertheless, the C5 supports Dolby Vision gaming, while the S90F does not support Dolby Vision. About the display, only the 55, 65 and 77 inches of the S90F features QD OLED. That means you can expect the same level of eye friendliness you'd get on the C5 from the other screen sizes, as they also feature WOLED panel. For the S90F, the 42-inch model, which is WOLED, costs as low as $898. The 55 and 65-inch model, which are QD OLED, cost around $1,000 to $1,400, while the 83 inches can cost up to $3,150. The C5, on the other hand, costs $847 for the 42 inches, all the way up to $2,800 for the 82 inches. With $2,000 and above, there are 3 TVs you can get. The best TV you can get for a PS5 Pro is the Samsung QN900D. So why is it the best? So many reasons. First of all, it's an 8K TV. The PS5 Pro can game at 8K. That being said, the QN900D can game in 8K at 60Hz refresh rate. Like that alone isn't impressive enough. It can game in 4K at 240Hz. So even if a PS6 or PS7 that can do beyond 120Hz is, there's a lot of future proof. The QN900D is a new QLED TV, which is a fancy way of saying Samsung QLED TV with mini LED. The graphic quality on this TV is insane, with super high contrast ratio and deep black that makes it very realistic. It features VRR with very low input lag.
The QN900F, which is the 2025 version, costs from $2,040 for the 65 inches up to $3,598 for the 85 inches version. Other great TVs around the $2,000 price range are the S95F from Samsung and the LG G5 OLED, which are both higher flagship versions of the S90F and C3 from LG. The S95F costs from $1,700 for the 55 inches up to $4,898 for the 83 inches, while the G5 costs from $1,650 for the 55 inches up to $4,300 for the 85 inches, and a whopping $22,497 for the 97 inches. So these are the best TVs for a PS5 and the PS5 Pro game console. Subscribe for more buying guides that help you avoid buying mistakes. And Justin, bye bye.